Hello again. Been a while since I've done one of these case videos, but I want to return to the unsigned, falsified statement, what Tyneside Council called achieving best evidence, that was accepted by Rachel Hudson. We're still yet to see a signed copy of this statement, and on the other channel I posted email extracts from Jane Poulter of South Tyneside, who gave a very, very odd account, a very evasive account as to why we never received a signed copy of this statement, because of course it was falsified. As we know, the other channel shows how even her comments regarding a letter from my younger daughter to Hudson, apparently they'd never seen it until it was sent to the judge, and yet it was crafted by their own social worker, Donna Grant. As the child guardian said, it was also unsigned and strewn with the language used by the social worker, Donna Grant, even though daughter at the time was more than capable of writing her own letter and signing it. So I want to return to the most hurtful allegation that was made against me, where they tried to suggest an accident which occurred back in July 2019 when older daughter broke her arm. They tried to twist this and say that I did it. Now, what had actually happened is they were playing downstairs and a fight broke out over a crayon. Not for the first time, certainly not the last. Older daughter had resorted to hitting younger daughter. Essentially, younger daughter had taken a crayon. The older daughter decided she also wanted it, and a dispute broke out. I think there was 5 requests from myself to say, please put the crayon down, I'll make sure you both have fair usage. But the beatings got so much, I had to intervene, so I had to put my body between the two of them, turn my back to older daughter, use my body as a shield. She continued to try to hit younger daughter and came over, or effectively rolled off my back and onto her arm. So let's look at how this incident was portrayed in this falsified, unsigned statement. In July 2019, my dad broke my arm. Of course, it's very sad to read these things, particularly when you can't defend yourself, which I'll come on to. I was downstairs with younger daughter, colouring in. I took one of the colours that she wanted, likely she was already using, and she started shouting and crying. Yes, she did protest because she felt that something had been taken from her without, proper respect. Bullying, I suppose you'd call it. We were in the playroom and my dad came running downstairs. He was angry. I was really scared. Listen to this, because this is very, very crucial. And he was throwing me around. So this is throwing, so the plural, so not one, throwing. And this actually, there are multiple examples of falsified statements, by the one by the IRO, in particular Angela Nolan. I think she accused me of throwing daughter against bookshelves, book cabinet, or shelves, so they must have been made of sponge, of course. So there was multiple falsified accounts of this, and they were trying to craft it together in a uniform statement, and it's been done particularly poorly by Law Appeal and the local authority. It's just no wonder why it was signed. So I was really scared. He was throwing me around. And this is also very odd. I don't know how he broke my arm. Isn't it very strange? Doesn't know how I broke his arm. Neither do I. So I do agree with that. My dad left the room and I was crying. That wasn't actually true. When she rolled and she was in pain, actually what had happened is I called for my wife to come down, who was upstairs. The arm was really hurting because it was clear that she'd hurt her arm. was a different kind of pain to being hit, which is, again, another odd statement. I was telling my mum and dad that my arm really hurt and was saying something's wrong. And they said I was playing up. That really didn't happen. It's very obvious there was something wrong because there was a break. You didn't know it at the time, but essentially there was a break on a fracture, at the forearm, and a dislocation here at the wrist. What was most obvious was the dislocation. So it was obvious something was wrong, and I took older daughter to the hospital as quickly as you can. Fortunately, it's not too far away. And wife and younger daughter followed a later time. They went to hospital. She was examined pretty quickly outside of my presence, I might add, as is usual. They examined the injured child with the parent not being there. There was no other injuries on her body, no bruises, nothing, no bumps, nothing at all. We sat in the waiting room together in very good terms. She was in a lot of pain, and she was actually very brave, I have to say, throughout all of this. And we were on good terms. We were laughing. I think we were watching The Greatest Showman, which was being shown, and there were some staff that would sort of dance into it. So there was no reason for any concerns. No concerns ever raised at all throughout all of this process. And she saw a lot of consultants because, unfortunately, the NHS botched the first attempt to manipulate the fracture here, and because it was very difficult to treat because you've got a fracture here and a dislocation there. So the first attempt was botched. Fortunately, she was eventually referred to Sunderland Hospital, and I think it was a Malaysian Chinese doctor who did an excellent job and put it right. But she had to go through an awful lot, and again, I stress she was very brave. But at no point in time did anyone raise any concerns that there'd been any abuse or anything like that. And you've got somebody who had got no other injuries on her body whatsoever, despite me saying that I was throwing her around. Now, when this started to come out, they Tyneside Council tried to intimidate myself and my wife. There were allegations against us both, and I'll come to some others against me on other videos. And they were saying police investigation. I said, yes, of course, naturally. But unfortunately, that melted away. And when we obtained correspondence between the legal teams at Northumbria Police, South Tyneside Council, it was very clear why, because they wouldn't meet any sort of threshold, not surprisingly. But when you go through the family courts and you've got subterranean thresholds with judges like Rachel Hudson, who will clearly accept falsified, unsigned evidence, their abuse of office, then it doesn't matter. You're merely crafting narrative. The other thing that I asked for during the proceedings was, well, if you don't want the police, then at least call witnesses, the people who treated her. And there was probably 3 or 4, possibly even 4 senior consultants who treated her, and say, well, ask them. Did they see anything that suggested any signs of abuse? And they didn't. They weren't never called. Now, that's the obvious key witness you would call. And it was me asking for that, not them. It was me saying, get the experts. If you don't want the police, get the experts. And strangely enough, in our conversations with Deirdre Ryan, which have been recorded and will be published in due course, she said that she'd looked at medical evidence on this file. So that means that they called medical evidence. They didn't put it in the bundle, which is, again, in my mind, a breach of codes of conduct. And what clearly happened, we've been told this by somebody from the inside of South Tyneside Council, and we'll come to that. We've got an awful lot of evidence to share on that basis, but in a different channel. That they did call the evidence, and they looked at it and saw there was nothing there to suggest anything that was untoward, and it got dismissed. And that's how the process works. If something doesn't support the narrative, just dismiss it and just run with the narrative and just create something that just fits the reverse engineered conclusion. And if you've got a friendly judge, you can do that. And actually, older daughter, even, she called me unsolicited last summer after she met her mother. She was very aggressive and bellicose and repeated this allegation, but in a slightly different form. And I said, well, please do go to the police. Please do. Because I'd welcome it. Please go and make a complaint, because we can then resolve this. I wouldn't, there was nothing from my point of view. I said, if you stand by it, please go to the police. I have nothing to hide, and I wish you would. Silence. Nothing ever happens, of course. You can understand why. This is what happens when you fuse crony capitalism with politics or the public sector, if you like. You've got children who are very, very valuable assets in terms of the family court and care system, in terms of how they can be manufactured into long-term cash generative assets for private equity owned fostering agencies. This is what happens when you fuse crony capitalism with local authorities or central government. You get this corruption, and it's appalling. The more we drilled into this degenerative, appalling trade, the more the falsification of evidence comes out. Each case is individual in its own right, but there's a terrible, terrible pattern, and there's clear crimes against humanity in this sector, where children have been taken from their parents through appalling means and through very, very clear falsified evidence. It's something that has to be dismantled, and it's a shame, because safeguards that have been put in place to protect children in this system have been grossly abused for corruption. That's it for now. I shall publish further evidence of this falsified statement in the near future. Take care. Bye.